Maybe we can open it up with this because, this room is filled with business owners, small business owners. Some brought their executives, some brought their sales folks. Some can range from a small business doing $1 million a year. Some just raised a few $100 million in the front. They're maybe valued at a unicorn right now. Some are doing $1 billion in top line revenue with a few thousand employees. And the conversation comes about going on a run or work ethic and how hard you work. Sometimes when somebody follows you on social media and Instagram, you kind of see the videos you're posting, and hey, just got back to this, and I got here at 2 o'clock, I'm training, and then see you 7 o'clock in the morning. How hard do you actually work? Meaning what the audience doesn't see. How hard do you actually work, DJ?
Hard. I mean, you have to work hard. Everybody in this room knows if it's worth something to you, you got to put in the effort. And the tricky thing, as we know with social media, is you let people in a little bit, you let them in on what you want them to see, but at the end of the day, I always feel like social media may be the tip of the iceberg that you allow people to see, but it's everything underneath the water that they don't see. And I always like to say it's the work we put in when nobody's watching that really matters. It's easy, I think, when you go to work, you got a lot of people around, you galvanize everybody, you could feel the momentum and the energy start to go. And not to oversimplify the work, but it leads to work begets work. So if we're all together in a room, we're gonna work, but it's the stuff you do on your own, away from everybody, really that matters. So you gotta put in the work. How hard do I work? I work hard, like we all work hard. I like to say that.
But I guess the follow-up for that would be,
That's my family, thank you.
Yeah, Rock's family's here. But the follow-up for that would be on working hard. There's different reasons for it, right? Some people work hard because they're just like that. My dad's a hard worker. He's just wired like that. He's not doing it to anybody. He's not doing it to make money. He's not doing it to build a business. From the day I've been young enough to remember my father till today, he works. You met him in the back, 82 years old. He's always moving. He's always working. Doesn't have any excuses for it. But then there are certain people that work hard for different reasons. You obviously are a very super hyper competitive type of guy. How much of the working hard is just because that's how you're wired? How much of it is because you want to suffocate your competitors for them to say, yeah, I'm willing to go here, I can hang with him. He went here, I can hang with him. He's willing to do this, shit. All right, I'll hang with him. But he went here, I'm going to the club, right? How much of it is that additional intimidation factor of your competitors that you're going up against?
I think it's a combination of a few things for me. I can trace back my work ethic to, we were evicted out of we had a little efficiency apartment in Hawaii, and we were evicted out of there, couldn't pay the rent. The rent was $280 a month. We eventually got kicked out. When we got kicked out, I was 15 years old. I'll never forget it. I was standing there at the door. There was not the padlock, but the notice. And if any of you have had this unfortunate experience, you get evicted. They tell you in a week you got to go. If you don't, then the Honolulu Police Department will come and they'll escort you out. In that moment, I saw my mom crying, and because I'm a mama's boy, and that kind of pain really impacted me. And I thought then, I want to do everything that I can to make sure we never get evicted like this again, and make sure that she's never this upset again. Thank you. And that then I thought, I didn't even know what that meant at 15 years old. It just meant, I have to work. I have to work. I have to do something with my own two hands. So I have a philosophy these days that you got to put in the work with our own two hands, because this is the stuff that you can control. We control the controllables, as we say. The other part is a competitive nature that is in my DNA, and it's in my blood, just like it runs in all of our constitution and our makeup here in this room, and yours included, where I love the competition, I love to win, and I also love to learn. I don't say lose, I say I love to learn. So I would say it's a combination of that. For me, the work ethic comes from, I never want to be evicted again, which is probably why I need therapy. And the other side to that.
You're not alone.
The other side to that is a competitive nature. And that competitive nature, that never goes away.
Do you think that is in you? Do you think that's maybe pops behind closed doors would say certain things to you that you remember? Do you think that's somebody offending you that you said, you're gonna say that to me, watch? What do you think that comes from? Like, is it duplicatable, or is it you either have it in your DNA or you don't?
I think there's versions of it that are duplicatable, and but we all go through our own journey and process. So there's something I think that we all can tap into that becomes our juice and our wiring. For me, you bring up my old man. My dad was a professional wrestler at a time when professional wrestling, I think, wasn't as globally renowned as it is today. My dad was paycheck to paycheck kind of guy, and when I decided to get into professional wrestling, we had the biggest fight about it. And ultimately he said, look, I'm not too sure if you have anything to offer. I mean, it got to that level.
How old are you at this time?
I was 22 years old, 23. And I understand what he meant in his limited capacity to love. He meant, look, I live in this little apartment in Tampa, right up the road, I-75. I don't want this life for you. I think there's more for you out there. And I said, yeah, but I got to follow my gut and my instinct. So I bring that up to say, along the road of life, we always have these moments that are seminal moments where somebody, sometimes it's a loved one like my old man, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a boss, sometimes it's a stranger who says, you can't do it, you're not good enough, don't even try, pack your stuff and go home. Same thing happened to me in Hollywood. When I got to Hollywood for the first time, when I got to Hollywood, I was coming out of the world of professional wrestling, WWE, and I was really determined, hopefully, to have a career that had longevity, and I was willing to put in the work and commit. But what I realized at that time was there was a lot of naysayers and there was a lot of cynicism as I was getting into Hollywood, and I get it, because you were successful in another place and now Hollywood comes knocking and now you want to try and come in and make a name for yourself in Hollywood. It was a little tricky because I was coming out of the world of professional wrestling. It's just a unique animal at that time and machine. So when I got there, a lot of people around me at that time who were my part of my management team said, listen, if you really want to make it in Hollywood, and even those who weren't part of my team, now looking back, I could see the chess that they were trying to play back then. They said, if you really want to make it in Hollywood, then you can't call yourself The Rock. You got to lose weight. Don't talk about wrestling. You have to look and walk and talk and act like these guys, and these guys are the biggest stars in the world at that time. Johnny Depp, Will Smith, etc. If you don't know any better, you buy into that stuff, like I bought into that back then. But then you start to realize something starts to eat at your gut about, well, this just doesn't feel right because I'm not being authentic, I'm not being myself. So finally, I said, a few years later, I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to be myself. Had a big meeting at the agency. I said, I'd like to have the same career as these guys, only bigger and different, and I mean it respectfully. And they all looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I have a big enough head as it is. So they looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I said, listen, just because it's never been done doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means we got to figure out a different path. So ultimately, I wound up saying, look, The Rock is a pretty cool name, and I love wrestling, and I'm also proud of where I came from this world of pro wrestling, where it's my dad and my grandfather, and I have a lot of family in pro wrestling. And then this unique thing happened when I was myself, and we can apply it to all of us here, business, life, etc., is Hollywood conformed.
Hollywood conformed.
Conformed.
To you.
To me when I became authentic and when I became myself. And then I went, I got it.
At this phase,
yes.
Close your thought, finish your thought.
Yeah.
At this phase, how much leverage, power, credibility do you have where they know they can't screw with you because you're going to do it no matter what? Do you have that kind of leverage yet or not yet?
Not at this moment, but they felt the passion and they felt a little bit of momentum. I feel like there's a word that I use, it's called mana, and it comes from in here. It's like chi, it's like a power, like you could feel it when we walked out and we all came in here, like you could feel the mana in the room. And I think they felt that at that time. And at that time, I had not had the credibility of any box office big hits or anything like that, but I did have what I felt clarity and how important that was. I'm not these guys. I'm not a Johnny Depp. I'm not a Will Smith. I'm not a George Clooney, those guys who were big stars at that time. I'm me, and the most important thing I could be is authentic and be myself, and Hollywood then conformed.
If there's one thing you're going to get from this interview with The Rock and I, we both love America. We had 2 big flags at our event. He's got a flag in his gym and everywhere he goes. This is the USA gear, limited edition for the rest of the year. If you love America, sport this USA gear. On the side it says Future Looks Bright. On the back it says Valuetainment. On the side it's got the American flag. We got the shirts. We got the flip-flops. These are the only flip-flops I wear when I'm at the house and walking the dogs. It feels amazing with the gel in it. So, if you love America, if you believe the future looks bright, if you love Valuetainment, click on the link above or below. Go wear some of the gear and tag us because we share the pictures on the podcast all the time. So go to vtmerch.com and place your order.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.